welcome. 505 interview series. Big D here with you. Glad you all could come and join and make a great Thursday evening with me tonight. I hope you're all doing well. Special guest tonight, one of my favorite people, has one of the best shows out there. My guest is the host and the creator of the cigar group / interview channel, the Evil Empire Society, Joe. Him and I have just a beautiful bromance with each other that was expressed to people's weirdness when we were out in Vegas. But I'm going to quit talking, and I'm going to bring on the man of the hour, Mr. Joe from the Evil Empire Cigar Society. Joe,
what up?
Welcome. How you doing, brother?
Doing well, man. I appreciate the invite.
Well, I appreciate you carving out a little bit of time in your busy schedule as a master of the arts, shall we say?
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's definitely something that I enjoy doing.
Yeah, and I do. I just, as Justin said, I just bring any Joe Schmo on.
You got to. We make the world interesting.
Yeah. Yes. So I'm going to get my stick lit, and while I'm getting my stick lit, how about you introduce yourself, and people who may not know who you are and what your brand and content is all about, how about you give them a little synopsis?
Oh, yeah. So I'm Joe, Evil Empire Cigar Society. Started with about 5 guys just sitting around the poker table, playing poker, smoking cigars. Thanks, Justin. Smoking cigars, drinking, hanging out, shooting the shit. We really started as a local group here in Wisconsin, and I just started uploading some pictures to, at first was my personal page, and then it kind of grew a little bit more and more each day, and people started liking it, the content that I was posting, and so said, why don't we take this a little bit bigger? Well, expand it a little bit, so let's do some poker tournaments. So that was still local at the time. And so I reached out to a couple brands, seeing if they would be willing to put something into a prize pack for us for the winner of a poker tournament. And I got 3 or 4 different companies that gave us some prize packages to throw into some winnings. So expanded from there. And then for whatever reason, I reached out to one of my really good friends now, and I call him a brother, Jeff over at, I'm going to give him a shameless plug here, over at GSTN, make some badass ashtrays. And I reached out to him, said, hey, would you want to come on and just shoot the shit? That turned into doing more lives and more shows with other brand owners. And I'm like, well, kind of fun and get to hang out with some cool people. So that kind of just evolved and grew into what we have today. That I enjoy talking to people and hanging out and just shooting the shit with them, smoking cigars, and getting a little bit deeper into, well, this is the wrapper, binder, filler of this cigar. That was something that always bored the shit out of me. So I never wanted our show or anything that we did to be the same as everything else, right? Because you can go down the list of any other cigar podcast, and most of the time, I'd say 9 times out of 10, it's the same old shit. What got you started in cigars? What's your favorite cigar? If you were on an island, what 3 cigars would you bring? The same questions over and over and over again. And to me, that got boring. So I'm like, why would I ask or do the same thing that everybody else is doing? I want to do something different. So we try to get a little bit deeper and focus more on the person rather than the cigars that they make. Long story short. Long story long, rather.
Long story long, but I think, it makes total sense. A lot of manufacturers don't, they don't like doing the interview circuit because, like you said, it's the same questions. Wrapper, binder, filler in this. Oh, if you were out there on if you were out on an island, what? Yeah, and your show is completely different because I think you always ask a couple of off the wall questions that you're like, what's this going to be? That you either come back to at the end of the interview or you really make them think right when it starts.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, so our patented first question. Kind of a two-part question, and I started it on my show, and then when I branched out with Nick from Hard Ass Cigar Society, he gave me the opportunity to make it a two-part question. So, first part of that question is: if you're 2 to 3 drinks down, or 3 to 4 drinks down, what would your go-to karaoke song be if you got dragged up on stage and had to pick a song? So that's the first one. A little bit more outside of the box thinking of, like I said, not the what's your first cigar, what got you into it, that type of thing. Second part of that question, you are a UFC superstar or a heavyweight boxer. What is your walk-in music that you're getting the crowd pumped up to? Something to make the crowd go crazy. Again, something outside the box, probably never been asked in their entire life, much less on a cigar interview.
You did ask me those questions when I came on your show, so you made me think off the bat. I was just like, oh my goodness, and I was even thinking about that before I came on. I was like, I know what I'm going to say, and then you asked me, and I was just like,
See, and that is the goal. Like, my goal is to at least one time during our show make you think, oh shit.
I enjoy your show, and all iterations of your show, from when you and your old partner to just you yourself, when you have Jeff, who's the unofficial third member of the Empire, when he's been on as your co-host, and now with Nick from Hardash, who's your new co-host. I love every iteration because you always just seem to, you just know how to vibe with these guys. You have fun. You can see that when you have the guests on, they're vibing with your guys' energy that you have. And I think that's important, because they're not developing any boringness out there. And you can tell that your guests are enjoying, they're having fun, because when you go, well, our hour's up, they're like, oh, I want to keep going. I'm having fun.
Yep. Yeah, that's happened quite a few times, and obviously I'm not just going to cut somebody off, so we try to stay as long as we can, but again, Instagram being what it is, sometimes it kicks us off, so we don't really have that chance. But, just talking about the people that I've had help host with me, and it's a blessing, because as much as I love doing this and as fun as it is, it's kind of a volley back and forth of, it's like tennis. I ask a question, they respond with something, and then my interest gets piqued and I want to learn a little bit more. So it's kind of that volley back and forth, but it's a lot easier to have somebody else alongside of me hitting it back to them. It's a lot easier playing tennis 2-on-1 than it is 1-on-1. So that's why I like to think of it.
That is. And you've had some very big names in the industry come on as guests.
What up, P-Row?
Oh, yeah, we're getting the Wisconsin crew is starting to show up.
Yeah. Speaking of Wisconsin, you gotta stay true. We got the new Glarus. Only can get it here in Wisconsin. So I had to rep for Wisconsin. But yeah, I think the very first guest that we had on that kind of gave me like the, oh my God, like, what am I doing? Like, I'm doing something really cool, but holy shit, like, I hope this goes well, because if it doesn't, this is it. This is the end. Oh, look at, there's Junior. There you go. There's your Texas for you. But yeah, so the very first one was probably J.C. Newman. When we had J.C. Newman on, that that definitely made me realize that, okay, I'm doing something cool, and let's not screw this up.
Well, that was one of those interviews that I listened to you guys do live. And then the next day I had to re-listen to it because it was so good.
Oh.
I mean, how in depth he was getting with the company and the history and just the family ties between the Newman and Fuente family, and it was just such a good interview. I felt like I missed stuff because he was just going on and on and on about just history.
He's somebody that you could put on like one of those audio books and just like listen to and like fall asleep to every single night, because it's so soothing, and like you could just listen to him for hours and hours and hours until you just fall asleep and don't even know that you fell asleep.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was a fantastic interview. So, how did your partnership with Nick come into play?
So, honestly, since the very first, like, right in the beginning of when I started the Empire with Doug and Dan, we started it, and then I saw what Nick was doing, and I really liked it, like all the stuff that he had, all the raffles and giveaways and all this stuff. And so I just followed him, and he followed me back. And then the coolest thing that I think epitomizes everything that the cigar community is, he reached out to me and said, hey, like what you're doing, let me know if I can do anything to help you out. Super simple, super easy, but that was super cool. And I don't know this guy from anyone, and he reached out to me and just said, hey, how can I help you? And
you got the wrong hard ash, though. You do know that, right?
Oh, well, trust me, I know. It just so happens that one reached out first, so that's I take. But I'm not picky.
Not picky.
But
it's a good thing he's a good sport, knowing his wife is a bigger fanfare than he will ever be.
We just had that's funny that you say that, because we just had a conversation the other day pertaining to a little bit of that, nothing bad or anything like that, but it was just funny about him being competitive with his wife. So it's super funny. But so that's how like our friendship started. And so we were just talking, and he said that he would help me with whatever. We got together on a couple giveaways, like a pretty big, decent-sized giveaways, where there was a bunch of different prizes to be given away, and just started from there. And we just herfed every once in a while. Like every other week, we'd have a herf, and it wasn't on Instagram or anything. It was just on Zoom, and we'd herf, shoot the shit. And the more we talked, the more we became closer friends. And then we every so often we'd text each other, say what's up, and call each other. And then I can't remember which one it was, but there was a certain guest that came on. I think it was actually from Matt Booth. I'm like, I can't do this myself, and Doug and Dan weren't going to be able to make it. So I'm like, what am I going to do? Light up, Joe, and you're in the shit. All right, well, fine. We'll do this. What are you smoking?
I'm smoking the white from Rick Rodriguez and his new cigar company, West Tampa Tobacco Company.
Boom. I would say my favorite, my top brand, in my opinion, to me, Pete Johnson, shout out. Love the brand, love everything that Tatuaje is. I am smoking the Siri P tonight. But yeah, so going back to Nick, it was Matt Booth. And I'm like, I can't do this myself. And nobody else was there to do that one with me. And I'm like, well, reached out to Nick. I'm like, yo, super hard question to ask you. Would you want to do an interview with me and Matt Booth? And he goes, oh, yeah, duh. so that kind of started our little interview escapades, and the more I thought about it, the more I wanted to continue, like, do more with Nick. And I'm like, why don't we just do a whole show like that? Just like once a week, we do a whole segment. And at that point, because he was doing Super Stogie Bros every week, and that was at the same point where he stopped doing that. So he kind of got opened up for a weekly spot and didn't have anything to do. So it was perfect timing.
Yeah, very good timing. You guys have such good chemistry with each other. You guys volley back and forth beautifully, and you both have a different and unique way of how you ask questions, but you both get the most out of every guest that you guys have on. So, you know, when I start thinking about the questions, and it's like, damn, that was a good question. And it's mainly the way both of you guys phrase your questions. Because, like you said, you're not asking typical questions, but when you are asking one of those, har questions, you guys do a very good job in how you phrase it.
So, and that's not to say that, like, some of these questions can't be asked, because sometimes if there's a certain individual that's on that isn't well known, sometimes you have to ask those, because nobody knows. Like, nobody knows the background story. Nobody knows who this person is, which is the whole reason we're trying to help them, grow. So at some point, you have to ask some of those questions. But in the same sense, you don't want to ask it the same way that everybody else asks it. So it's got to come from a different angle.
Yeah.
And, Nick and I have we have a similar personality, but we have a different personality on how we go about phrasing things. So, so for me, Nick is more of that direct, like, in your face, like this, asking like the most outrageous question that you could possibly think of. And he, like, that's his area. Like, that's his specialty.
And straight-faced.
Yeah, absolutely. I come from, a more, like, I want to ask a question that, like I said, it's going to make you think, oh shit. I want to get in your head and, like, mind ninja you into, like, I have no idea what I'm going to say.
Last weekend, I was hanging out with Mickey Pegg of All Saints Cigars at the Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest. And so at the after party, we were hanging out. Mickey was talking about how he hates doing interviews because it's all the same. And he's very picky about who he does interviews with because he doesn't want to answer those same questions. Oh, how about this? And how'd you start? And why did you do this? And why did you do that? And I go, well, why did you agree to come on my show? And he goes, because every time I watch your show, whether it be your show on YouTube or whether it be your show on Instagram, you're laughing and having fun, and you're just you're asking valid questions, but you're having fun with it, and you're not taking it serious. He goes, that's why I love what you do, and that's why I come on. That's why I want to come on your show. So, for me, that was that. I was kind of shocked by that, but to hear it from somebody else in the industry say it,
for sure, and
feels good.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said before, talking to you telling me the same thing. It's like that makes me feel good. That ain't a Lenyo Joe. I have no clue what that means.
Me either.
Well, that makes two of us.
Yeah. That made me feel good because, I'm like, wow, there's a guy who's a manufacturer, he puts out very good sticks, but again, I'm not talking. Oh, Mary Jane.
No, it is not. That's why.
Because I think one thing like that it's looked at is I'm not talking to him as like Mickey Peg, of All Saints Cigars. I'm talking to him as Mickey Peg from Philadelphia. I'm talking to him as if he's just a guy at a lounge that's hanging out, or we're just sitting here bullshitting, and I'm just gonna ask questions on things that I think are interesting, that I'd like to know about, that I may have not known, or that I think other people would find cool. But other than that, I just wanna bullshit and shoot the shit.
Benjamin, the cough threw me off. Yeah, my bad. I'll cut down on that.
I don't know who Ben is, but for the last 5 weeks, he's been a staple in the chat on every live, and I'm loving it.
No, Ben's cool. Ben's cool as shit. He's on our show all the time. It's like Ben Jars or something like that. I just call him Ben because I know that's his name. So.
And I'm loving it because I'm like I don't think I know him from any other social media, but he's been active in the chat. He's been super fun. He's had some really good and funny comments. He's been awesome.
Yeah, he's on the IG show all the time. Good dude.
But back to my love. Now let's go back to the love fest for you, Joe.
Fair.
I love your show. He said he hadn't been in your show yet.
Maybe it's a different Ben. I just know there's like
a different Ben.
There's a Ben that does. Maybe it's just the name Ben.
I enjoy your show, and we all have life and work and stuff. Due to my schedule, I don't get to listen or watch your guys' show live a lot, but on days that I got long drives with work, I put you guys on to listen, to play catch up if I missed a couple shows, because I really enjoy it, because it's really a good listen, and I don't get to I just listen to the audio. I don't watch because that's not safe to watch and drive, but I listen to the audio, and I have such a good time listening to what you guys are doing out there. And I think you guys put on such a fantastic show that's entertaining, but also informative. And also, you've introduced me to some new brands out there that I've never heard of before, that I need to be on the lookout.
And see, that right there is the entire goal of what I set out to do with our channel, is get these smaller boutique, smaller brands, small batch brands, more exposure, more light, because there's a lot of good shows out there. There's a lot of good cigars out there that I want to get on the show. And I want that to be shown across, everybody's channels, and help these little guys grow, because I love the underdog story. So that's what I try to do. That's what Nick and I love. That's why we love hanging out with these boutique cigar brands, because that's what we all do. But
if you only
need a Kleenex for
if you only saw Joe and I in Vegas,
you'll need a Kleenex for something else.
Yeah, it was about that, with your girl and my buddy not quite understanding our relationship, and I'm like, just go with it.
Hey, Nicole knows exactly what she's got herself into, so she's okay.
Well, I mean, she knows she bagged herself a stud.
I can only do what I can do.
You're just
I do
one
what
man. You're just
I'm
one
just
man.
one man. I can I do what I can with what I've got.
So yeah, because of your show though, I've now been exposed to some newer brands that I probably would have never have found, or would have taken me a while to find, and I've thoroughly enjoyed their cigars and what they've done. Fred with Espinal Puro. I mean, get the day when you had him on your show the first time, I'm like, dude, I love this guy's vibe. This guy's sticks sound amazing. I went and bought a sampler pack while you were still doing the interview with him. And I just fell in love with the sticks, and then getting to meet him in person is just, he's even cooler in person.
100%. Him and I, just like Nick, it started out, liked his page, reached out to him to come on the show, and lo and behold, he's got some great cigars, but he's also a great person. And we clicked right away. I talked to him. He's like my brother. He's part of our family. Like, I would do anything that I possibly could for him. He's part of our family. You know what I mean? He's such a good guy, and at the end of the day, what more can you ask for besides a good person that makes good shit?
Yeah. I talk to Fred probably 2 or 3 times a week. He calls me, and we talk. That's just the kind of guy he is. He cares about you, your well-being, how you're doing. Always wants to let you know how things are going, with what he's got coming up, what's new with him. So you're in the loop. So that way, like, okay, I can start promoting for you. Start getting people excited for what you got coming.
Exactly. Yep.
So what else you got coming down the pipe?
Well, so this month we actually have a bourbon company that will be coming on with us. Penelope Bourbon. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They are a pretty decent sized bourbon company, but they have a small batch blend that was a local retailer pick here that we're going to drink with them and hang out and smoke a cigar. I don't know if they're going to be smoking a cigar, but we will be while we drink their bourbon, which I'll drink bourbon and smoke cigars till I'm blue in the face.
That's cool. I'm not a drinker or a spirits guy, but I know about Penelope, and they have a huge cult following within the I guess you could say the small batch bourbon side of that community. So I know who they are.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm excited for that because
yes, I think
again, it's something
Justin's
different.
right. Justin's right.
I have a shirt on. You don't even know if I'm wearing pants.
Well, we know what Justin's wearing.
That's true. But yeah, it's different. So it kind of keeps everything fresh, and it's something new. So that makes me excited for it.
Is this your first non-cigar related guest you've had on your show?
Well, cigar related, yeah.
Yeah, not somebody affiliated within the tobacco industry, I guess I should say.
Well, what would you classify Jeff, like an accessory as part of that?
I'd consider him as an accessory to the community.
Because, we've had, and so Danny from Cigar Oasis, we've had him on. One of the coolest guys ever. I got to hang out with him at PCA too, and super cool dude. Became really good friends with him too. That's it. That's like, to me, the coolest thing about all of this. I talked to people for the last year and a half, 2 years, never met them in person, go to PCA, and it's like we're best friends for years. Same thing. Like you, perfect example.
I don't. Well, just so everybody's clear on which Joe doesn't have enough clothes on, we just want to make sure. I love Joey. Yeah, that was the one thing that like when I went to TPE, was that for the first time in 2 to 3 years, I got to meet people who I've only either talked to online or did lives or shows with. And I never thought I'd get to meet some of these people. But then when I did, I met them, I was just like, yeah, I feel like I've known these people for 20 years. It's just like, it was just seamless. There was no, there was like no change in anything. It's just like, hey, here. And then when we met up in July in Vegas, it was like we hadn't seen each other in a few years type moment.
Right. No, exactly. It's not. It wasn't like there was nothing awkward or weird. Like we met up, and it was like we've been friends for years. It's just we haven't seen each other in a while.
Yeah,
that's the best way to describe that.
Yeah, that it was. It's just kind of like, it's just kind of like there's Joe, massive bear hug for Joe. Glad that and then it was just kind of like, yeah, I feel like I've sat at this bar with you, smoking, drinking, and bullshitting with you before.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, that's been one of those just good feelings. That after finally 2 or 3 years, finally getting to meet up with people who I never thought I'd probably ever see. I never anticipated I'd ever go to TPE. I was like, I don't think, but I went. I didn't think I'd go to PCA. I went. So, I guess I'm doing more than I ever anticipated I was going to do.
Well, so the other cool thing is it's not just these big events. Like, when you go on a vacation to anywhere, I have friends all over the country now. Like, it is so cool. Like, we just went to New York to go visit Nicole, my fiance's family. While we're there, we hit up this lounge, right, like 7 minutes away from her aunt's house where we were staying, and I got to hang out with Gary, G Money.
And how many times did he change his shirt while you were talking to him?
He did change his shirt once. Yeah, so he didn't change it all. But, the coolest part was I went to a completely different state. Had it not been for the community, the cigar, this whole thing that we do, I probably wouldn't have had that good of a time that day, that night. I probably never would have went to the cigar lounge to begin with. Wouldn't have had that good time. Wouldn't have met somebody awesome. You know what I mean? Just from this evolved into something so cool where I can literally go to almost any state, hit somebody up and say, yo, I'm in the area. What are you doing? That to me it blows my mind, because what else, industry, community, can you do that? Where you just, tomorrow I'm in Utah. I know who I can hit up. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm in California. I can hit up 5 people. I go to New York tomorrow. I'm hitting up the Clowns. I'm hitting up Gary, Cope, like all these people that are there. Like, I can go almost anywhere in the United States and touch a dot and connect with somebody that I've been talking with. It's amazing to me.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's one thing that makes our community stand out among many other social community groups out there, which is that, you have friends and family for life, and no matter what state you go to, somebody that's going to treat you like your family, that's going to invite you to their house or to their club, and hell, if you need a place to stay, dude, I got a spare bedroom, man. You're welcome to stay here.
Exactly, and that's it. It's not just, oh, hey, I'll try and see if I can. You know what I mean? It's, I'm going to make every effort that I possibly can to make it. I might not be able to, but that's just how it goes. Not everybody's able to just do whatever they want all the time. So sometimes shit gets in the way, but they'll make the effort to try to do that. I have no friends, and I feel so alone now. Bro, come up to Wisconsin. Come tailgate.
That's a quote nobody has ever taken up anybody. Come to Wisconsin.
Hey, trust me, when it's football time, there is nothing like a Lambeau Field tailgate. I promise you that.
Oh, Joey, I think you're right. If they're not offering to share the bed with you, are they even a homie?
Fact.
Yeah.
Fact.
Facts right there.
1994 facts.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'll share the bed. I don't care. I'll go butt to butt or butt to groin. I don't care.
I'm comfortable with my masculinity. I do whatever I want.
I am too. I'm fine with it. Just feel free to hold my hand. That's all I ask.
Fair enough. It's polite.
It is.
It's a polite thing to do.
You don't want to be rude. I mean, I am offering my hospitality up to you. But
that's true. No, stop. You're about to cause a fight now. I don't like, no. Don't get us started on Chicago and Wisconsin.
Yeah, for Cigar Fest, and going down, I picked Ish up from BAMF Cigars at the airport and drove him down to Colorado Springs to Ryan from Rocky Mountain Cigar Show to his house for a pregame barbecue that he was having with his neighbors plus a couple of smaller brands that were showing up over there for the barbecue, and we hung out and had fun, and it was such a good time that I'm like, where else would what would I have been doing if I didn't know Ish, or if I didn't know Ryan? What would I be doing? I wouldn't have gone down a day early to hang out. I would just sacrifice that 70-mile drive day of.
See, and that's exactly what I mean. Like, what else would I have done in New York had I not gone, reached out and hung out with Gary? I mean, to be fair, I probably would have still had a good time, and I would have hung out at Nicole's aunt's house and still had a good time, because I'm going to have a good time no matter what I do. So it is what it is. But I got to hang out with somebody else that was really cool that I don't get to hang out with ever, and somebody that I've been hanging out with on IG lives and different herps. I get to hang out with him in person. So to me, that's extra special.
And you got to see the flex in person, which is even more impressive.
True.
That's kind of how it is. Because I'd be disappointed if I was hanging out with Gary and he wasn't flexing once.
Well, I'll tell you what. He came with a bottle of Blanton and 5 different cigar clown sticks. He came flexing for sure.
That's Gary. Love Gary. He's a good dude.
Oh, absolutely.
He would have left and gone to Boston instead.
Boston. I don't. No. I have a very. I'm not a fan of Boston. We'll put it that way.
All right. There, you heard it from the horse's mouth. Not a fan of Boston.
No. Nope. That comes from hockey, though.
I forgot you're up there in Canada, so
basically, might as well be. But you know what's the most messed up part is Wisconsin doesn't have a hockey team. With a frozen tundra without a goddamn hockey team.
It's too cold for even hockey fans.
That's got to be it. Because I don't have any other reasoning for it.
Joey used to like you.
Hey, it is what it is, man. I don't pretend to be something or somebody I'm not. So it is what it is. It is what it is. All
right, so you've got Penelope's coming on. Anything else coming up that you're looking forward to with your show wise?
Show wise, we're trying to keep it back to the boutiques. You know what I mean? We're trying to stay true to, who we are. I have a couple other, I have a podcast coming up that's a very, very well-known podcast. I guess it doesn't matter. Hot Ticket Podcast. Those guys are awesome. Super big shout out to the guys over at the Hot Ticket Podcast. They some of the most phenomenal shows, and they do really, really good reels too, which is awesome. Like, I love the remix reels where they go like they'll put up like something that somebody else does, and then just make a complete debauchery of whatever they said. It's hilarious. I'm all for it. The Milwaukee Admirals. Oh God, stop it.
I gotta say, meeting P-Row out there in Vegas was awesome.
That it makes me sad. I didn't get to hang out with Hero at all because that was one of the things that I wanted to do. But funny enough, my very first ever event that I went to was the Brew City Cigar Fest in Milwaukee. That was the very first event that I ever went to. I'm just walking through, and this was kind of back last year around October. It wasn't like that was, I wouldn't say it was pre all of our shows, but we weren't at a point that we're at today. So, and we were still growing. We're still growing now, but we were a complete nobody at that point. And all of a sudden, I get a tap on the shoulder. He goes, "Mr. Evil." I'm like, "The fuck?" Turn my shoulder. There's P-Row. I'm like, "Oh my goodness!" And he goes. He looks at Nicole. Well, there's Mrs. Evil. So that's P-Row actually gave her that nickname.
Yeah, he gave me a massive bear hug, and it was great. It's like, dude, it was so cool to meet somebody who, again, I've spent 2 years talking to online, but never had the chance to meet. And he's just as cool in person as he is online, and it's just one of those. I think that's been kind of, for me, what has really kept me going is the opportunity I've had to meet a lot of the people who I've never had thought I would meet or have the opportunity to. For somebody like me, despite what you see on camera and stuff, man, I'm very antisocial and very, I like to be alone and stuff. So this has kind of brought me out of this antisocial shell and kind of made me want to communicate with people and to talk to people and like people.
So the funny part is, I for my 9-to-5 everyday job, I do B2B sales. Okay, so my entire day it involves me trying to not only get to know people but to read people. That is my 9-to-5 job, learning to read people, how they feel, what because that's sales. That's you need to learn how to read people and kind of adjust and go with the flow and adapt. So meeting you in Vegas, I've obviously we've hung out and we've herped and we've talked on here, but that's not the same thing as meeting somebody in person, actually getting to really read somebody's body language, how they interact, but I could tell that you're more of a reserved person and you kind of like that, but in my head that makes me want you to branch out even more. I'm the type of person to see an introvert and make them into an extrovert. I want that type of person to have as much fun as humanly possible.
I like to kick back. I like to watch. I'm a watcher. I may not get involved in the shenanigans, but I watched it happen. In fact, I may have instigated it, but I didn't get involved in it.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. But that just means you are getting involved, which means you're more involved than you would have been otherwise.
Well,
And
if
for
the cops
me,
were called, I had nothing to do with it.
well, sure, absolutely, and that's playing smart. There's no rule.
But yeah, I am reserved, but I'm also a watcher. I like to see what's going on, and I like to pick my spots on where I jump in and where I go. It's just like I'm still part of me still that shy kid from New Mexico.
Sure, and you know what, and that's also what a part of what makes you who you are and what makes you a good person. That's exactly what it is that you value and who you are as a person. So that makes you you. But what's to say that you can't also grow and bring more to that? You know what I mean?
Well, here I am sitting talking.
Yeah. See?
Yeah, I'm giving the people what they deserve. A one-on-one with a legend in his own mind.
You?
No,
you?
Yeah.
I am no legend by any short sense of the imagination. I do. I hang out with people, smoke cigars, and maybe drink Wisconsinably.
Wisconsinably. Oh. Okay.
Speaking of which, I need another one, so I'll be back. Wait, I can't show you that I'm not wearing pants. So there we go.
Don't look, Justin. Don't look.
All right, there we go. Got one more.
Oh, we're going with a Corona.
Oh, there we are.
American for Mexican beer.
Something like that. There's alcohol in it. I'll drink it.
Oh. Well, that's cool. I mean, your show is going great. You guys are constantly growing. One of my favorite moments was the first time you had Boofy on, and it was just you and Boofy.
Yeah.
The first time on. And you were really trying to have like some sort of legitimacy to it, and Boofy was having none of that.
Oh my God, that was right. I think that was it was right before or right after Thanksgiving, and I remember it to this day, and I'll never forget this. I asked Matt Booth, "What would your last meal be?" And he said, "Do you remember?" Because I fucking certainly do. Do you remember what he said? Do you remember what he said his last meal would be?
Yeah, I gotta think.
Because it's not food. He said his last meal would be ass.
Oh, that's right. It was ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I lost my shit.
No,
clean your room. That's good. Yeah, I asked Boofy, Matt, what would you are getting sentenced to death, and you get one last meal. What's your last meal? And he said, and it wasn't like he had to think about it. It was instantaneous. Like, he already, like, this has been planned for years, knew it, like, he already wrote it down. Ass. I'm like, you what? Like, how do I follow up to that? Like, I wasn't
you can't.
prepared.
You can't. And of course, every time he does an interview, he always tells everybody that that every question you ask, he takes just a little bit of your soul. Mm-hmm. Your essence.
Well, he took all my soul with that one. Well, to be fair, I didn't have much of one before that, so it's not going to make a difference.
I say, the day after we had him on, I woke up and I was like congested and was like, holy shit, he did steal some stuff. I'm starting to get sick. Yeah, when we were in Vegas, I went to the bathroom and there was nobody in that basement bathroom that had like 800 urinals in it. And of course, Boofy walks up right next to me and uses the urinal right next to me. Gets this big white stance and he's tapping my foot with his foot. And I looked over and I go, oh, it would be you. And he said, hey, Melly, you gotta go. And I just said, well, I'm honored you decided you just wanted to come over and take a peek. And he goes, it's a little cold in here then, huh? I said, no, I just pull out just enough so I don't piss on myself.
Jesus Christ. Yo, and there's another Wisconsin guy that, for as much as Wisconsin, I feel, is a redheaded stepchild of the cigar industry, we show out. We got people all over, from Piro, Hardson cigar. It's hard to go anywhere.
It is. But yes, I remember that Wisconsin used to be one of the staples of American tobacco growth. With, old ads. If you've ever seen any old tobacco ads from the 30s, 40s, and 50s, it was made with, our binders are made with 100% Wisconsin tobacco.
Well, and so that goes back just to the old the old Indian tribes that we have up here, and they're still here. And with all the rivers and the lakes that we have up here, it feeds in well to all of the vegetation, and there's a lot of tobacco that's still here. It's just on Indian reservations.
Yeah, and that's how it is in most of the states, though. Now, is that consumable tobacco now is mainly limited to reservations. 47 out of the 50 states grow tobacco that are consumable tobaccos,
right,
in one way or another. The South more so pipe tobacco, the North more so, a mix of pipe and cigar.
Oh God.
So wherever you go, but if you do go, I tell anybody, if you ever go to any Indian reservations across this country, go into the smoke shops, because they have whole leaf tobacco in there that they're growing on their land that they'll sell, or that they use for ceremonial purposes. That's available.
Yeah, there's so one of the managers at the local lounge here, she actually grows her own tobacco in her backyard. And you can usually get a good yield with, the 3 to 4 month summer that we have here. And that's all you really need for tobacco.
Yeah, you don't need a whole lot. But, Wisconsin played an important part in early cigar history in the United States. Wisconsin was one of those important states that produced the most tobacco, was used by most of the American brands as a binder. So, there's a long history.
It's very strange that, and not just Wisconsin, but I feel like, just the Midwest in general, they grow up here. Jesus Christ. I gotta hang out with this Ben guy. He seems like a cool dude.
I know, Ben.
Jesus Christ. I feel like the Midwest gets no love for the amount of people that are diehard, cigar nerds.
Yeah, it's because it's flyover country. That's why. People, unless you're on the coasts or down in Florida or in Texas, nobody really cares what's out there. But I've been to some fantastic shops in Nebraska and Iowa that have had just amazing cigar shops there with some amazing people.
But you know what, to me, that means to me, in my head, like I said, I come from a sales, business-to-business sales background. My brain automatically goes to, there's opportunity. There's opportunity in the Midwest, not just for brands, but for like a PCA, like a Big Smoke, something big for the Midwest that isn't available. You got all these barn, the Jewish State with their barn smoker events and things like that. They are everywhere, except in the Midwest.
As Midwest as you're going to get is Kentucky and Dallas.
Yeah. That's not even, like, for me to do that is not the same as somebody that lives in the South anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that for a lot of these festivals or a lot of these events, there's biasness, especially for those people that live in the Northeast and Southeast. Again,
Yep.
look, I'm lucky enough to have a great festival that's in my backyard every year, but I got, that's it. I only get one day a year to have something cool. I don't have something going on all the time that I could go to. If I want to go to something, now I got to travel. So, something that I don't have to travel for, yeah, I'd be down to do more stuff Midwest, I think, because it's close enough to me.
Right, exactly. I just want to do, like, there is something, I don't know what, but I want to do something to get more of the Midwest involved in something. I don't know what, but at some point that is part of, it's part of my plan to do something in the Midwest.
It's part of your 5-point plan?
Yes. Well, and I'll let you in on a little bit of a secret. It's not, well, I don't think I've told anybody, so maybe I should just not say anything because maybe somebody will steal my secrets. But I want to do something for the cigar media because I feel like there's something missing with inside the industry, and I feel like cigar media, it has a bad like when you mention cigar media at PCA, it's kind of like a bad taste in your mouth without even having anything. Like, we're labeled as like the black sheep of the industry without even doing anything.
And that's to a few publications out there that keep recycling cigars of the years and make up stuff in their publication.
Right, but to me, that's not even the core of today's cigar media. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, people read it and they'll read the articles and stuff, but the average cigar person, the person that smokes 2 to 3 cigars a day, who really, really is a cigar nerd, might do that, and they might read those. But the person that that smokes maybe 1 cigar a day and maybe 4 or 5 a week, they're more apt to look at a show like yours, a show like mine, where we're sitting down with these people, getting past, like I said, getting past the wrapper binder filler, getting past that, looking into who these people are as a person. I think that's the cigar media. And in my head, I want to do something to make those people more reputable. I want someone like your show and my show, the Hot Ticket Podcast, I want them to be more popular than the Cigar Aficionado, than the Half Wheel, than the whatever name your flavor hot publication that's out there right now that hasn't changed up anything in the last 15 years of what they've been doing.
I mean, I could be like Half Wheel. I could be like Charlie.
Well, do you want to?
I could. Boy, I gotta say,
you could. Do you want to?
Well, if I can do him satirically, and mock him, yeah.
Okay. Well, but again, that's not doing him. You know what I mean? That's you still being you, right? That's not you being somebody else that you're not.
Yeah, I get it.
That's my
I
point.
Understand. Yeah. I think that's a good idea. I'd like to see a lot of smaller media get more recognition out there.
That is my point. And that's exactly what I'm talking about.
When I started this whole thing up in 2019, I started from zero, and so I've had to build it's just been small steps. You know, I haven't taken big steps. Really, the biggest step I took was starting up this interview series earlier than I anticipated because the YouTube suspension. And, you know, it forced me to have to change everything that I was doing because I saw that Rumble's not working, all the other platforms that I'm posting content to isn't working, losing out on that big audience that I had on YouTube hurt, and I got to come up with some way to offset that. And so this whole interview series started earlier, but it was only based upon the fact that 30-day suspension from YouTube just kind of killed any momentum that I had. But it also, I also think it kind of helped me because people who didn't know who I was found out who I was because a lot of the bigger shows out there were talking about how I got railroaded as a smaller channel.
Well, again, like I said, this is something that just crossed my mind recently, that I want to do more, not only for the Midwest, but I want to do more for the smaller cigar media, like our shows, like I said, you know, some of these other smaller shows out there, not just shows, but even some, you know, influencers too. I think influencers, and I don't consider myself an influencer by any short of the imagination.
I don't either, but I've been corrected on that by quite a few bigger people in, you know, I would say mid-size cigar media and mid-size influencers that you and I, despite us not considering ourselves to be influencers, are influencers because I've watched your show. Your guests and your interviews and what you've done have influenced my decision into buying something that I probably would not have had I not seen it or heard it from you.
No, and I mean, I understand like the technical meaning of influencing people.
But I think you are an influencer. I really think you are. You know, on what level, I don't know, because honestly, I don't know what level I would put myself on. Small? If you want to say Joe and I are small influencers in this game, I'll accept it. I like to say that my influence that I have is pseudo. So if I influenced you to buy or not buy something based upon my recommendation, it was clearly accidental. Yeah.
Well, and that's fair. And so I guess, I mean, that's fair. If somebody, let me phrase this the right way. If somebody wants to purchase something based on, you know, our show or something that we've said or somebody we've had on, good, because I want our show to be a platform where a new brand can come on to get more exposure and then grow. So yes, that is something that I encourage. That's something that I want. The moniker of influencer, I will never say I'm an influencer. If somebody else wants to say I'm an influencer, I think that's fine too. I will never classify myself as an influencer. I will classify myself as somebody that wants to help expand other people's palates with different cigars that they might not have ever tried had it not been for our show. If that influences them, so be it, then good. But my goal is never to make someone do something because I said it. I don't want somebody to buy something because I said it. I want somebody to buy it.
Well, you failed that because I've done
that. well, I don't think it's because I said it. I think it's because of the people that I bring on. It's what they say. And that is my goal. My goal is to have them talk about their brand themselves. I want them to sell it on our show without selling it. I want them to sell themselves.
I'll get a little bit, but I'm also watching you when you're bringing on a brand new brand. You're smoking the cigar. I'm watching your face. I'm watching Nick's face. I'm watching how you guys are more so, I'm watching your interaction with the cigar. You're smoking it. Are you looking at it? How is it burning? What are you saying about this stick? because, granted, as much as I like helping out smaller brands as well, look, when you have them on, you're trying to help them out and sell, even if it's not something that's in your wheelhouse, you're still trying to help sell the sticks.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll give you a little hint then. If I'm smoking a cigar, and I'm talking to them, we're just shooting the shit, and I'm smoking, and I do this, and I'm smoking, and I look at it like this, I'm confused on what the hell's in my hand. That's how you know I'm enjoying it. That's how you know I think that's a good cigar.
Well, I've watched you enough in the Taste Test Tuesdays with the Cigar Clones to know your tells.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and you'll know if I don't like it too. There will be I'll look at it
I know that when you start long ashing, you're loving the stick.
Yep. Yeah.
Because if you start tapping that ash, you're not into the stick. You're not trying to show off the construction of the stick by trying to long ash it.
No, well, and so that's it too. Construction is one of my key points to looking at a cigar as, more than just is a good bad. To me, the construction is one of the most important parts. But I'm also, if the cigar sucks taste wise, I'm not even going to bother going into construction. There's no point.
Yeah, I agree. So, I get, we probably have more influence than what we want to take credit for. But, hey, if I turned you on to something good that you bought, then I'm glad. And if you didn't buy something because I didn't like it, because you didn't think you'd like it, then fine.
Well, and again, back to that point, my goal is not to make you buy it because I like it. I strongly always say, this is good for me. I might really, really love it. You might hate it. It might not be for everybody. Based on what I like, what my wheelhouse is, what kind of cigars I like, I'll tell you if I like it, if I don't. If you watch enough of the shows, you kind of get a feel for what kind of cigars I like, where my palate is, where on the strength level I like. So you can kind of gauge, based on enough of our shows where I sit. And if you're somewhere in that area, whether it's on an edge or right in the middle, try it.
As I say out there, this stick isn't for me. It's not my jam. But I know a lot of you out there like that type of flavor profile. It's a stick I highly recommend you go and pick up.
Well, it's not even just a flavor profile. Maybe it's a certain Vitola.
That too.
You know what's funny? So today I had specifically picked out a shirt for this show, but prior to this show, I took the baffles out of my motorcycle and I was on the ground and it got all dirty, and I was pretty upset about that. But I had to switch out of the shirt that I was wearing, and it just so happened to be a Lancero shirt.
Well, which is good, because I'd have had to make your screen there really small so people could. So people wouldn't be able to see that. We have standards on this show.
Oh, the standards are low. I'm on here.
No, it's not even so much that, because I've reviewed Lanceros and I've enjoyed some Lanceros that I've reviewed. When I've been able to get them to smoke right. Everybody, if you've watched me for a long time, you've seen me lose my shit when I smoke a Lancero that doesn't smoke right. You've watched me lose my shit over it. You've seen me, people like that. They think it's funny. I don't think it's funny, but, again, I don't edit myself, so.
Well, what I can say is I can understand where you, when I watch your Lancero reviews, I can understand where you come from in that. And it is very frustrating when you have a cigar that doesn't stay lit, doesn't have a good draw, goes out, and you have to relight it. And I completely understand that.
You pull a 2x4 out of it after you cut it open to show everybody?
Yep, no, 100%. I get it. I get it.
You know, I understand. And I'm all right. You know, at the end of the day, I'm all right with it. You know, it's just, it is what it is. Apparently, I'm the one guy who has all the bad luck, and I apparently pick out or get sent the bad ones out of the batch.
You know, just to speak on that, you know, it's very, I don't know what it is, whether they send me like pre-rolled ones that they rolled themselves or what it is, but knock on wood, luckily I have not had, there was one cigar that I did not like out of all of the interviews that we've ever done. Out of the, I think we're on episode like 107 or something like that. There's only been one cigar that was not for me. That's it.
That's been pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, there you go.
And when I say, oh Jesus,
that's what I pulled out of a Lancero.
that's wild. And that's pretty much the whole cigar in a Lancero. Well, and so like when I have guests on, and I'll have 2 or 3 cigars that are from them, I'm not smoking. Like, I don't smoke them until they come on the show. I have a humidor right here that I keep all of the show cigars in. So for the month, if we have 5 guests coming on for the month, I keep them in that humidor, and I don't smoke them. So what you see on our shows is first take responses every single time. I don't pre-smoke any cigar that is ever smoked on our show.
I don't do that either. I wait till they come on because they go, "Yeah,
Yep.
Did you smoke it?" I'm like, "Nope. I smoke them with you when you come on." You know?
First impression, and that's exactly what I do.
You know, I don't want to be influenced by anything. And plus, wouldn't you rather know that I'm not digging the stick while,
Exactly. Exactly.
It's like a woman. Wouldn't you rather me be honest with you and tell you I'm not into you while we're on the date instead of afterwards?
Or just walk out?
Or just walk out, yeah, Sounds like something I would do.
Weird. Sounds like a story I heard already.
You've probably heard quite a few. I did kind of go off on like 4 or 5 months of just bad date after bad date after bad date.
Yep. I don't know. Well, to Nicole's defense, I've known her since we were children. So that's the only real reason she got any kind of date. So, because I was super fine with just being alone.
Because you're a player, boy.
Well, not necessarily a player, but it came to a point in my life where, I had my son, and I was okay with being alone, and all I really needed to do was take care of myself and take care of my son, and that to me was good enough, and that was it. And then lo and behold, I'd find somebody that I can actually tolerate and that vibes well with me, and there you go.
You guys have a very good relationship.
I'll tell you what, she is an angel for putting up with my shit. So
Well, she's also lucky she's got you, because I'd step in if you didn't have her.
somebody has to.
That's right. All right, so I don't know if we ever talked about this before. Where did your cigar journey begin? Like, how old were you? Do you remember what you first smoked that made you want to get into going, I I could see myself enjoying this for a long time.
So in my head, there's two journeys. Okay, so you have the journey of starting and the very first introduction to cigars, and then you have the journey of what it is today. Because the journey that it is today is not the same that when I first started. So my very first introduction to the actual non-gas station, black and mild with a sweet tip that wasn't from the gas station, premium hand rolled from a cigar lounge, was when I was 18. And it was my 18th birthday, and my best friend since we've been 9 years old, still my best friend to this day. He's the best man in my wedding. We both turned 18 around the same time. And we had a dry gentlemen's club in our area where you could go if you were 18 because it was dry. So as long as you're 18, you can go there. So before we go to the gentlemen's club, we stop at the cigar lounge and pick up a cigar, and then we head out. So I didn't even smoke it, at any point during the night. It was way after that night, into the night, when we actually smoked them. But so we stopped there. We go. I was way more interested in other things than cigars at that point. So as you can, there's a good reason for that.
I think we all were at that age.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah. Well, see, naked girl, cigar. But
I know. I take this now over the naked girl.
Well, I mean, maybe, but
at least an hour and a half of enjoyment instead of 15 minutes and then.
It's all about how you play it, my friend. It's all about how you play it.
That's why when I come out of the bathroom, I go, "Why are you still here?"
Fair enough. But so anyway, so that journey started. My first introduction to cigars, it was my father. I could not tell you what it was because I do not remember. I do know that it was my father. I think it was Le Bijou 1922. It's the only thing that I can think of in my head that was. Fast forward, and so going through the years after that, I would have one maybe every 3 or 4 months, maybe, whenever we'd play poker. And poker was I think the jump in on a lot of my cigar journey. Playing poker, hanging out, drinking, smoking cigars, and just shooting the shit with my friends. But the journey that I am on now, where I really, dove headfirst into everything that this is, was when we went to Punta Cana. So we went to the Dominican Republic on a family friend vacation where a lot of my family and some of our family friends, we all went to the Dominican Republic. And I'm not joking you, within the first 5 minutes of us getting to our resort, I didn't even get to my room yet. So we're at this resort, and I'm walking down, and in order to get to your rooms, you have to go down the stairs through their resort lobby area, and then you have to go out and find your hotel room. So on the way down the stairs into their lobby, they have a cigar kiosk. And the guy that was there, we're walking through, and he goes, "Oh, sir, do you smoke cigars?" I'm like, every once in a while. And he goes, "Awesome, I've got one for you." And he holds it out, and I'm like, "Great, how much is this going to cost?" And he goes, No, this one's for you. No charge." I'm like, what the hell is happening?
Crack.
And then I get back to the hotel room, and I'm like, because he lit it for me, cut it, lit it. I'm smoking it on the way to the room, and I'm like, this motherfucker, he's good at what he does because he knows I'm going to come back, and it's just like crack. It's a free, the first hit's for free, and then they get you to come back. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I go back and buy a whole damn box, and that starts off like the entirety of my cigar smoking because the entire time we're there, not only did I buy that box, but now that I bought that box, he's coming back. Like he finds me at the pool, and he's like, "Oh, here, I got another one for you." So he's giving me a bunch of cigars, just handing them to me and just giving them to me, and they're amazing cigars. I'm like, all right, like I get this now. Like I get why people fall in love with cigars. Like I love it. And then by the end of the trip, I'm like, okay, like let's see what else there is when we get back. So I get back home and go to the lounge like the day we got back. And I sat at the lounge, smoked a couple more cigars. I'm like, all right, here we go. And then that's where I started posting some pictures. That was, I got back. We're still playing poker. We're going to the cigar lounge. Just, the five of us and just hanging out, and rest is history.
Yeah. I like that. You had two different journeys from just being young and working through just casually smoking to now where you're at, where you've had this second life come into you that has introduced you to a completely different aspect of the culture.
Well, for sure, and it's not just like, oh, cigar. Like I enjoy a cigar. Yeah, I enjoy the cigar. I enjoy everything that the cigar brings, but it's more so now something where the cigar has helped me realize that taking a step back and relaxing and moving slower is beneficial, because it's funny because cigars has taught me that you can't rush things. Not only in the construction when you're making and blending the cigar, you can't rush that whole process that goes into it, which is a whole nother conversation. But you can't rush the process of making a good cigar. That's when you fuck up, and that's when you get a bad cigar. But you also can't rush smoking a cigar, because if you smoke a cigar too quickly, it overheats, it burns too quick, it screws up the construction. You can, mute out some of the flavors because you're over smoking it, you're overheating it. If you don't smoke it quick enough, it goes out, you have to relight it, and then if you don't relight it the right way, you can, light ash, and then you're smoking ash, and then it's not the right flavor. So the cigar literally has taught me how to slow down and just be in the moment.
I think that's a very good way of putting it. And I think it's like, you said, it's like crack, because my first time in a shop, it was the day I turned 18. And I skipped school, and I drove the 25-minute drive down to Santa Fe, New Mexico, to the Santa Fe Cigar Company, and I walked in, and I said, I just turned 18 today. I don't know anything about cigars. I'd like to learn. And so they said, okay, and they gave me 3 sticks. So try these 3. If you like these 3, come back. So I said, okay. I lit the first one up they gave me at the shop, and I immediately fell in love. And I go, how much do I owe you? And they go, no. If you like them, come back. And that has started almost a 22-year journey in where most of my money goes.
Do you want to know the other, like, so, like, in my head, like, I'm already thinking, like, this is nuts. So when he hands me the first cigar and goes, it's for free, just take it back, smoke it, tell me what you think. I'm like, all right, well, that's really freaking weird. So we go to the hotel room, drop off our bags and luggage in the hotel room, And I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to go back and talk to him a little bit more. So I go back, and we start talking, and, I said I bought a box for him. So as we're talking, I'm like, all right, I'll buy a box of these. I enjoyed it. So I'm like, and it was a little bit expensive. So I'm like, this is an actual, I'm making a decent sized purchase, but I'm on vacation. I should spoil myself a little bit. So I'm like, okay. I go back to reach for my wallet. I'm like, shit, I left it in my bag. Because we just got done taking all of our, we just came from the airport, and it's like a half hour, 45-minute drive from the airport to the resort. And so I have everything in the room. I'm like, oh, shit. I got to go back and get my wallet. He goes, oh, that's okay. Puts the box in a bag and goes, here, take the whole box, puts it in the bag, gives me the bag, and goes, oh, just come back and give me the money. I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, just come back and you can pay for it when you come back. I'm like, bro, I'm on another trip right now because you gave me the first cigar for free, and then you just said, oh, don't worry about it, come back and pay me whenever. I'm like, I have no idea what's happening at this point. So I'm like, I am so confused, but I'm like, okay. So I go back to the hotel room and go grab my wallet. I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, why the hell would he do that? I'm like, well, A, he knows we're staying at the resort, but also B, in the back of my head, I'm like, what would happen if I don't come back and pay him? I'm in another
charge it to your room.
He had no idea what room I was in.
He'd probably just see you walking by the lobby and go tell the front desk person, that guy right there.
Well, maybe, but so it's still, in my head, I'm like, how? I'm like, I'm in another country where anything goes. So I'm like, well, maybe someone comes knocks on my door real quick.
Some big guy.
Yeah, I'm like, this is a brilliant sales technique that I've never seen anywhere.
That's cool, though. Yeah, these journeys, just the way they take us, because from that, turning 18 took me to working for Reynolds Tobacco, which, working in the warehouse, just moving boxes around, to taking a leap at, 19 and a half years old, applying for a job in quality control and quality assurance for the premium tobacco line, working with real tobacco, working with brands like Dunhill and Benson and Hedges and a few others out there that, wow, and that I applied for a job that people who have far more experience than me had, but the passion that was lit into me about this, I was so nerding out on tobacco all the time, reading and learning everything there was about it, that I think I thought I bombed on that interview because I just nerded out about my passion about it.
Apparently, I gotta hang out with Ben. He sounds like a good dude.
Ben's awesome, and I've enjoyed him I've enjoyed him over the last 5-6 weeks in the chat room. He's been great. He's been the comic relief to that, and then traveling, going to Nicaragua and the Dominican, Ecuador, Indonesia, and going to all these places. Some of the people I met along the way, on it. My first overseas trip I took at 20 years old was in Nicaragua, and we went to Esteli, and we were doing a factory tour on something, and I go, oh my God, is that who I think it is? And they're like, it's like, I'll go say hi to him. I go, that guy's a legend. I can't talk to that guy. He goes, sure you can. So he walks over to him, and he's all, Pepin, come here, Miss, this is Dan, he works for, Mr. Garcia, what's up?
Oh, that would so be me. That would.
Oh, yeah, I was just in awe. I was like, oh, what?
Yeah, Nicole says it all the time. I'm a fangirl when it comes to a lot of stuff.
But that's what Ryan and I did on Saturday. We did one lap around the event, nerded out, and then we just went and walked. And then from there, we just walked around and hung out and bullshitted with all the brand owners.
Yeah, no, and like going to like a lot of these after parties, like the after bars after PCA, like when we ran into Pete Johnson, like I said, like from the very start, like my idol when it comes to cigars, like he is like at the top of that list. And I was like, holy shit, like he is right here in person. I'm like, I need to stay reserved, because if I don't, I'm gonna look like an idiot. So I got to keep it cool. Understand what you read, not how I spell it. Oh, fair enough.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's, yeah, that's been cool. Still doesn't stop me from nerding out,
Whoa.
Because I did that. That's what Ryan and I did. I mean, I've met most of these guys before. Still didn't stop me. I mean, like, I have a really good relationship with Sebastian and Brian Matola from Cavalier. Yeah. I've met those guys I don't know how many times. I still nerd out. But that's what the first loop was, just to nerd out.
Brian is my brother from another mother. Like Brian and I started talking back when he was with Illusione, and I had him on a couple times, and we just like, he rides bike too, and so we hit it off talking about bikes and stuff like that, doing different trips. But he's just such a cool fucking guy. And then you add Sebastian into the mix, just another great dude. Cool. And I'm like, it was one of my bucket lists. When I thought about who are the people that I wanted to meet, I've wanted to meet Pete Johnson, obviously, just because that is my favorite cigar brand. But bucket list, like even before that, just because of who Brian is as a person, I wanted to smoke a cigar with Brian more than even Pete Johnson. Like that would be like bucket list number 2. Like I wanted to make sure that before we left Vegas, I smoked one with him. And 2 hours before we even left Vegas was that time. So I actually got to cross that off. So that was cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. We just kind of, I think that what we do is kind of put us in a different and unique experience that I don't think a lot of people get to experience when they go to events or they see guys like this. And, I still get blown away that these guys know who I am. Like, so they see me, they call my name, they know who I am, and it's just like, it still blows my mind. That I was like, you know who I am.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and I never really thought of it that way, because, okay, so, like, on our shows, we have these people on, and we talk to them. We get to hang out with them, Yeah, it's not in person, but, we still talk to them. They know who we are. They know who we are. And so we get the opportunity to do that kind of warm call when we're out at these events and we see them in person. It's not the, oh, hey, Brian, what's up? I smoke your cigars. And that's it. Like, there's no other interaction that's ever been had before. It's just, I like your cigars. What else do they have to say to that other than thank you? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just, because if we're just guys who enjoyed smoking cigars that weren't in kind of a media role, out there and we go to these events, it's just like, hey, I really like your stuff. We nerd out and maybe take a picture, leave. But,
Yeah.
you know, now we're at this point where we go to these events or we go to after parties and stuff. They want to hang out with us.
Yes.
And it's just kind of, I'm just like, why? I don't,
And
my mind still gets blown by that all the time.
And my inner social butterfly loves that more than anything else. Like I love meeting new people, not only meeting new people, but also making relationships out of those new people. Not just, oh, hey, how are you doing? Like your cigars? Thanks. Take a picture. And like I said, see you later. And then you don't talk ever again. Like that is as far as that relationship goes. Like I'm the type of person that wants to sit down, have a cigar, like find out like, you know, what makes you tick, you know, what are the things that you enjoy doing, like what makes you a person, you know, who you are as you beyond the cigars. You know, I want to sit down and like I want you to be able to have the confidence to send me a text. Not that maybe not the confidence, but like I want that relationship to be more than, oh, I smoke your cigars. That's it.
Yeah. I still get I still get nerded out when these guys text me. Like I look at my phone and I'm like, all right, hold on, we got before we respond, all excited. All right, let's hold on. Let's give it a second before we respond back to this text.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing that you know is like Saturday. The amount of just regular people who knew who I was just walking around the van and wanted to take a picture with me.
See, I'm not even to that level, so you got to step up on me. I don't even have that.
Yeah, you know, I'm just walking. I mean, people, yo, 505! And I was like, hey, can I grab a pic? Yeah, man.
That's cool. Yeah, I gotta hang out with Ben.
Yeah, you know, so, yeah, it was just there, like, Ryan put on an event, a charity event, a few weeks prior, and people showed up who wanted to take pictures with him at that event, and he's like, that's the first time that's ever happened to me. I go, it feels weird, doesn't it, that people watch what you do, and then go, hey, man, can I get a picture with you? Like I'm a celebrity or somebody of importance out there.
Bro, you want to know something real weird? When they don't even ask you, and they just take a picture of you. Like, not with them. They just take a picture of you.
Oh, like the ex-boyfriend taking a picture of you while you're out with his girl. At a table.
But it was just super, like, so that happened at PCA. Like, I was talking with Alan from Family Loyalty. I'm just talking with him. And then all of a sudden, like, I look over my shoulder, and then like, I see somebody taking a picture of both of us. I'm like, well, that's odd.
That's me.
Yeah, that's odd.
Yeah, it was for that special photo album.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Bro, if you want a special, you just ask.
I know, but the fact that you were unaware of what I was doing is what makes it
trust
special.
me. I was aware. I'm always aware. I am aware of my surroundings too much, to the point where, like, if you were in my head, you would think I was insane. So that's all right.
All right, we're gonna wind down the show. Joe, feel free to drop a plug for you and your brand and anything you got coming up here soon.
Oh yeah, so Evil Empire Cigar Society. The evil is your regular E. The Empire is a 3. So if you look at our logo there, it is just like it is spelled on Instagram, and that is really the only platform that we use to do our shows, to interact with people. Right there, yup. So it is E3C5 for short.
And if you go down if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, if you go down into the description, I put links to the Instagram profile in there, so you can just click that to be taken right over there.
Boom. Yeah, that's really our only platform that we use. I like it for the fact that, the interaction for us there is, for me, it feels more mom and pop, which to me, that's what we try to help other people with. So we like that small batch boutique feel. So we try to keep it to that. And maybe sometime down the line, there'll be something else. But, as you've experienced with censorship on YouTube, the funny part is I had actually created a YouTube account, not joking, the very same day that you had your censorship stuff with YouTube. So I was like, bro, I literally was on YouTube for less than 14 hours and this shit happened. So I'm like, well, whatever. So at this point,
the shorts and lives they leave alone.
Well, maybe
it's the pre-recorded content that they seem to have issues with. That's why I have no pre-recorded content on here. It's all live stuff.
Maybe that's the route that we go then, because that was the only issue that I had taken with it. So at this point, we are on Instagram. If you would like to get any of our swag, we have hats, shirts, patches. One of the bigger items that we have. There we go. Look at that. Look at Danny there. There we go. We got that bandanas, which to me, the coolest thing that we have is the bandanas. I wear bandanas all the time when I ride, and 9 times out of 10, I'm rocking one of our bandanas when I'm on the bike. That's first and foremost usually. But yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, just go on our Instagram, send us a DM. I'm on there all the time, so if you send us a DM, I promise you I will see it.
Excellent. Guys, we got no interview show next week because of the holiday and stuff. However, Thursday night on IG Live, Wrench and I are back. He's done with his sabbatical. Thursday night hangout returns. So feel free to tune in over there on Thursday nights.
I was going to ask, where the hell's Wrench?
He took a sabbatical for the summer. So I took advantage of doing... And I got tired of doing the lives on Thursday, and it was just not fun without having Wrench there. So I decided, well, I'll add an extra day to doing the live interview stuff on Thursdays instead.
Yeah, you got to have someone from Wisconsin. I mean, that just goes without saying.
As I was there, Tuesday night, raw cigar reviews with Ryan and I. We bring on a brand new company that's based out of Colorado, Sagrado Cigars, and the owner, John Stewart, will be with us, and that'll be over on Instagram as well. We will be back here on Monday, the 12th of September. We have the YouTube superstars of the review channel, the Rev Room, will be the guest.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. So, love the Rev Room. Those boys are awesome.
So, excellent, Joe. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you coming on, man. I love you so much, and I appreciate everything you've done for the community. I appreciate your friendship and all the support and love you've also given to me. It means a lot.
Same, my brother. Love. Much love.
All right, guys. We will see you around in 2 weeks. Peace out.